Welcome back, everybody, from an exciting weekend of racing, part of it in Texas, most of it in Michigan. Welcome to the C&J Speed Review. My name is Chris Burns. On the other side of the screen is our man, Corey Huffnagel. Corey, how are we doing today?
Hello, Chris. We are doing pretty good. Excited that Father's Day weekend is coming up, but mostly excited about the racing this weekend. So even though the Cup guys are not racing Sunday, I still don't mind, having the Xfinity and Truck Series racing, especially without the Cup guys. So it should be a fun weekend, and I can't believe it. It's going to be two more races for Fox, and then NBC takes over first weekend of July. So,
I will miss the Fox coverage. I've said it before, I'm not a real big fan of the NBC commentators, but they try. They do a real good job. But Fox they have characters, and they have, not that NBC doesn't have former racers, but there's something extra you get from a Jeff Gordon or even a Larry McReynolds championship pit crew. They just give you something extra. I don't get the same feeling with Wally Dallenbach, Jeff Burton, and the whole team. But again, as long as what's going on the track is good, I can tune that out.
Well, Dale Jr. is going to be on the NBC team this year, so it's going to be very exciting to watch him perform. And I think he's going to be with that. And I think he's going to be with Rick Allen and Steve Letarte, I want to mention. Or I think they might have him in a different role or something.
Completely forgot about Dale Jr. being in the booth.
The most popular driver.
When he was driving.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's good news. But the big news this week is that BK Racing is up for sale, but they're not selling the charter.
Nope. No, I mean, I probably say they still want to go racing, and I mean, let's face it. I mean, they'll probably just race until their salary cap is due and so forth. But I think at BK Racing, it's kind of a low average team if you think about it. But then yet again, it's pretty much their decision.
Right, and you mentioned that you look at the standings on any given day, or the results, I should say. Greg Alding isn't exactly lighting the world on fire in that 23 car, but he doesn't give up. And that's one of the things I like about some of the underfunded lower, I hate to say lower end, because you got to be the best of the best to run on that circuit. I like the fight in those kids. There's a reason the Greg Aldings and the Matt DiBenedettos, people are starting to come around to drivers like that. Instead of just dumping it all on Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, St. Jones. You got to give these young guys some love because they're busting it out there. And all it takes is that one first win. You don't think of them as a lower-end guy anymore. You think of them as they're moving up. Everybody's had. Let's hope for these guys to have that moment in the sun.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So.
Okay, so with that news, we can just jump right into the Truck Series, where this weekend it was Johnny Sauter coming home in victory yet again in a Truck Series vehicle. You saw the race, I take it. What did you take away from it?
So going back to Friday night's race, I want to say this, even though Johnny Sauter ended up winning the race on Friday night, I have to say, it wasn't really the Johnny Sauter type of race that, everybody expected, because, you look at it, they've just been dominant on the mile and a half this year, and they've won 3 races in 2018. But if you look at it, on Friday night, their truck in the beginning wasn't really the best, that they expected. And after Joe Shear Jr. Made a few adjustments on the truck, I'd probably say the first 2 stages, then you pretty much saw the 21, get up to the top 5, and then pretty much took the lead late. And I want to say in the 3rd stage, there was a point where, Sauter had to save fuel, and I think there were a couple other guys that either pitted or probably, that were good to go on fuel. And the one thing I kind of noticed was when he was coming past the start-finish line to take the win, you could pretty much see that truck kind of sputter just a little bit. and then, right when you get past the start-finish line, it pretty much kicked back up again. So I pretty much said, okay, maybe he kind of ran out of fuel, or the fuel thing didn't really pick up because, anytime when you have like a car or a truck that goes to the corner and pretty much the fuel pickup, won't pick up the fuel, then, you'll see that car just sputter just a little bit, and next thing you know, you'll lose positions. But I probably say this, one driver that I really want to give credit to is definitely a 52 with Stuart Friesen, and I have to tell you, he had a really good truck on Friday. Could have had a truck to win the race. There was one point where he kind of lost positions, I think, on the last pit stop. But then yet again, that 52 team, they're just not, giving up quite a bit, and they're just running in the top 5, top 10 almost every single week. But, I look at it, I'm saying to myself, not only Sodders and Kyle Busch are the only guys that run pretty well in the mile and a halves in the trucks, but, we might see Stuart Friesen, contend with these guys sometime soon.
Oh, without question. And the fact that he's keeping himself toward the top half of the field every single week, unless he has a problem, that shows something. And he's going to be a true contender for this championship going forward. Needs to get himself a win or two under his belt. If he can't, he needs to be in that top 10 every single week. There is no question in my mind that consistency is a winner. You can look at, Matt Kenseth's championship a few years ago, 1 win. Look at Terry Labonte in 96, 2 wins, but it was top 10 consistency that took those guys. And, of course, now with the new championship, that consistency is great. It's going to get you to the playoffs. But if you don't win, if you don't cross that line first, you're not going to move very far in the playoffs unless it's dominated by a Johnny Sauter or Noah Gragson, and they just pick up win after win, and you're sliding in on points. So, yeah, good call by you to the tip of the hat on Stuart Friesen.
Absolutely, and like I said, you look at Johnny Sauter, not really the best performance type of race that, we saw, but then yet again, 4 wins this season out of that 21, I immediately said, this is going to be the team, to be for the championship this season, whether Noah Gregson's going to challenge it or anybody else is going to challenge it whatsoever. But also another guy that I really want to give credit on is Todd Gilliland. Led the most laps on Friday night. He could have had a truck to win too, and I think he was also on a different pitch strategy as well. But coming home 6th, especially on a mile and a half in the second mile and a half race of his career, I pretty much said to myself, here's another kid that I really think could win a race sometime this season.
Absolutely. And again, you look at these guys, Friesen, Gilliland, you can rattle off a couple other names on that list too. They've looked good. They've been almost there, but haven't quite transitioned into a win. We could be talking about them coming up soon. Stuart Friesen coming home with a big checkered flag. Todd Gilliland, same. But at the end of the day, you got to have the equipment to get there. Is the equipment bad? No, because they're running top 10. Right. But it needs to be better. And that's one thing that maybe should look. He has competitive. What do we have to get to cross that finish first?
Right.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, you're losing me just a little bit.
Am I speaking German? All right, sorry about that.
All right.
Eventually they'll get their wins, but go ahead and give us the breakdown.
Okay, so top 10 results from the truck race this past Friday night in the PPG 400. Johnny Sauter ends up winning the race. Stuart Friesen, the pole sitter, comes home 2nd. Justin Haley 3rd. Grant Infinger 4th. Matt Crafton rounds out the top 5. Then it is Todd Gilliland 6th. Tyler Young 7th. Cody Coughlin 8th. Spencer Davis 9th. And Noah Gragson rounds out the top 10. Other notables, you have Dalton Sargent, who finished 11th. Austin Hill 13th. Chris Eggleston in his debut in the Truck Series for David Gilliland finishes 14th. Joe Nemechek 15th. Ben Rhodes 16th. Austin Wade South 17th. Brett Moffitt 18th. Jordan Anderson 19th. Myatt Snyder 23rd. Reed Sorensen 27th. Justin Fontaine 30th. And Todd Peck 32nd.
All right. So if you took something away from that, obviously we're happy all the way across the board. And when we get into average finish, we'll see why. One of
Yep.
these three races, two of them have been some of the closest of our picks ever. We are neck and neck on like really close on one, neck and neck on another, and then we move on. But the only half I don't have a sad really. I didn't hear of any. I was really in there. But happy I have to give Stuart Friesen coming home second. Good job for that team. Let's see that momentum keep going. Good job by him.
Let's see more. So my happy for the race, I would definitely have to go with Tyler Young to pull off a top 10 finish, especially for Randy Young racing. I mean, I give him a lot of credit, and wasn't really my expectations of that truck to run anywhere in the top 10, but to pull off a seventh, I was pretty happy. My sad would definitely have to go to Jordan Anderson because he was running in the top 10 most of the night, and then apparently an oil cooler kind of busted up his night and ended up in 19th. But this was a kid that finished 9th at Daytona, and since then, he was riding on a little bit of a momentum, and then Friday night, ran pretty decent, had that problem near the end, but, that's one kid, I think I'll probably watch this season.
Okay, good job. Now, let's go to the picks. We'll start with Corey. Corey took Noah Gragson as his lock and Stuart Friesen as his sleeper. Gragson came home 10th. Stuart Friesen came home second. That is an the addition gives you 12. Divide that by 2. Your finish this week, sir, was 6th. Good job by you. Top 10.
Thank you.
Can't go wrong with a top 10. What's better than a top 10? A top 5.
Yeah.
I took Johnny Sauter. He won the race. I took Todd Gilliland. He finished 6th. You add that up at 7. You divide that by 2. My finish for the week was 3.5. So I took the truck race. Very good. I see so little of the trucks. I'm making a lot of these picks blind, but sometimes even a blind squirrel gets a nut every now and again. So we move on. The LTI printing 250 at Michigan, which I saw some of the race, didn't see all of it, liked a lot of what I saw. And what did you take away from that race?
So first and foremost, I'm really happy what NASCAR did with the new rules package that they came in this time with the Xfinity Series. So they probably thought to themselves, okay, so Pocono was pretty much, down the pipe. So why don't we do something that'll make the racing a lot more better, a lot more closer, and yet more exciting. So what they did was, they put on a carburetor restrictor plate. I think probably maybe like 0.2. I'm not really sure. I'm not really the car guy I like to think about. But when I say Michigan, which is a 2-mile racetrack, and you go into the corner, it's like 215, 220 miles an hour. It might as well, it might as well have been like, watching like a mini like Daytona and Talladega type of race, because that's what we saw on Saturday. And the one thing I really want to take away of is whenever the Xfinity Series goes to a restrictor plate track, like, both the Daytona and Talladega, we just pretty much saw, how good Richard Childress Racing was, especially on Saturday. And not only that, you go back to Daytona, the two of the Childress cars, had a good shot to win. They both got caught up in wrecks. Then you go to Talladega back in the spring. Daniel Hemrick starts on the pole. Could have had a top 5, maybe a win, but a cut tire ends up forcing his day whatsoever. Then you go to Saturday, and even though rain was coming, Austin Dillon pretty much did what he had to do to win the race, and luckily his teammate was there to push him for the win. And and also with this rules package, I really thought this race I thought it was exciting. I mean, probably one of the best racing that I've ever seen with this rules package in the Xfinity Series, and I really want to see a lot more out of this season, especially when it comes to like the big tracks. But what's actually kind of cool about it was, when you go down the back straightaway and those guys are pushing and, they're locking bumpers and whatever, like, you're just saying to yourself, like, okay, if somebody doesn't get out of line and doesn't cause a wreck, then, everybody's going to be lucky whatsoever. But, and also one thing I want to point out is this is probably the first time since NASCAR, introduced stage racing that, there was a race shortened by rain, because I probably say there hasn't been one race shortened by rain, especially in this stage racing whatsoever. But even though the guys gave out the rule saying like, okay, so if there's rain, well, you have to get to stage 2, to call it an official race. And sure enough, they did. And, and Austin Dillon was there at the right time. And all I could just say is, even though I'm a big RCR fan, I was happy that the 3-car went to victory lane on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Austin Dillon put on a hell of a show. And
yeah.
I'll just break down the running order real quick. As we mentioned, Austin Dillon came home in first, Daniel Hemrick second, Cole Custer third, Ryan Reed fourth, Paul Menard fifth, Kyle Busch comes home sixth, Tyler Reddick seventh, Kevin Harvick eighth, Justin Allgaier ninth, and Ryan Truex rounds out the top 10. Your notables: Christopher Bell in 11th, Kaz Grala in 12th. Moving down the list, we see Ross Chastain in 14th, Brandon Jones 18th, Ryan Sieg 19th, Austin Cindric disappointing in 23rd. Moving on down, Elliott Sadler, a very disappointing 30th place. Give me a happy and give me a sad on the Xfinity LTI Printing 250.
So my happy would definitely have to go with Kaz Grala. I mean, to start in the back of the field and come home finish 12th, I thought that was a really good job, for that team, especially with Fury race cars. And, just face it. I mean, if this team can pick up a sponsor, throughout the whole season, I think this is going to be a one to watch, especially, fact that I think this could be a sleeper team, that could make the playoffs in September. So my sad would definitely have to go to Elliott Sadler. He had a really good car to win the race, and then he caught up with that skirmish with Alex Bowman, and, that pretty much ended his day. And, it was one of those super speedway moves where, you try to go up on the high side, and little do you not know, the car up on the outside, is getting a faster run than you are, and you're trying to block, but then yet again, that run comes up too quick, and then next thing you know, boom, you're in the wall. And then pretty much afterwards, the one gave the 23th tap and said like, hey, what was that all about, and so forth. But hopefully, Elliott Sadler, I think he'll win a race this year. If not, he's going to be another one that I think will point his way in as well.
I'm going to mirror Elliott as, again, when we go to the standings in just a minute, his grip is loosening on the lead wins this season, 495 points. However, you see the guys coming, and you have 1, 2, 3 drivers from 5th to 7th. I'm sorry, am I doing my – no, 4th, 5th, and 6th all have a win. And then Spencer Gallagher in 12th, but Spencer Gallagher is not going to spend too much time in 12th because he's going to keep dropping. Is going to be Daniel Hemrick. He's really busting out, and every week he surprises me. He's moved up to 3rd in the standings over and running hot. But again, he's another guy like Sadler. You can only do so much with consistency. Guys with wins. Hemrick has a lot of momentum. He's been doing better and better and better, but he's got to cross that stripe before everybody else very soon, or he might find himself just another guy with a T-shirt that says, I made the playoffs, hooray me. So, but look, from what I saw of the race, he was doing exceedingly well. That 21 car looked amazing, but I can't take it away from Austin Dillon either. But Austin Dillon, again, has wins under his belt on that series and on the Cup side. So he's got a little bit of that swagger. He's got a little bit of that confidence. Hemrick, not so much on this series, but hey, anything's possible. You're always a first-time winner once. Let's get this kid to victory lane.
I really think so too, and I'd probably say like the one track that I really think he could get his first win is possibly the July race at Daytona.
Very good call. Let me break down the points for you guys real quick. Elliott Sadler, as we mentioned, leading the way with 495. Cole Custer second with 454. Daniel Hemrick third with 446. Tyler Reddick is in fourth with 440. Christopher Bell is in fifth with 423. Justin Allgaier sixth, 393. Brandon Jones seventh, 387. Ryan Truex is eighth with 385. Well, in the aforementioned Spencer Gallagher, which does not count anymore. So immediately I move Ross Chastain into that position with 273. Underneath him, John Hunter Nemechek, Ryan Sieg, Mike Lynette, Kaz Grala. Those guys are fighting that bubble position. And between them, between John Hunter Nemechek and Kaz Grala is only a 10-point difference. Those three guys are 248, 246, 243, and 238, respectively. So somebody's going to sneak their way in unless one of these guys picks up a victory. Right now, I'm going to say, I know we talk about it every single week. Our answers change. Maybe they don't. Michael Lynette. I think he's the guy that's going to sneak in and spoil a lot of people's fun.
Yeah, see, for me, I really think, it's basically going to be it from now until like September, until anything happens. But if I would have to pick one, I would definitely have to say Annette. I mean, he was consistent last year. He made it in on the playoffs in consistency, but he didn't really make it past the first round, anyway. But, then yet again, like, it's going to be very interesting to decide, what happens, between now and September.
Sure, absolutely. But what happens now is, for the first time ever on the C&J Speedway Review, since we started doing picks and average finishes, that you guys are going to hear what is about to happen. You're going to have two firsts today. This is your first. So on the Xfinity Series, Corey picked Kyle Busch as his lock. Kyle Busch came home in sixth. He picked Paul Menard. Paul Menard came home fifth. You had that by 2. Corey, your finish this was 5.5.
All right.
Another top 5. You can't beat it. We'll cut the half off for the sake of argument. Got yourself a top 5. Now, I picked Kevin Harvick to win the race as my lock. He finished 8th. I picked Cole Custer as my sleeper. He finished 3rd. You add those up, it comes up to 11. If you divide that by 2, our first ever tie. In the history of C&J Speedway Review, we have never had a tie like this. So on the Xfinity Series, we are both champions. Hooray us. Swig a beer to you, my friend.
All right.
So we move on to the Firekeepers Casino 400. That race ran on Sunday at Michigan International Speedway. And I got to tell you right now, twice this season, if there's ever a guy on the NASCAR circuit who loves Mother Nature, much like Jeff Burton did many times in his career, it's got to be Clint Boyer. Martinsville snowed out. He comes back, wins the race the next day. This time, rain is looming large. The race is delayed a good 3 hours. They finally started. Then the rain comes back, and who's in the lead? The 14 of Clint Boyer. And he was running a hell of a race. Let's be honest. He only led 8 laps. But if you listen to his post-race, and I'm not blowing up Kevin Harvick, although I could, he said, we had a great car. We got by Harvick. We were expanding the lead, but you can't count out Harvick. You couldn't count out either of the Busch brothers. Any one of those guys could have passed me had the race not been halted. But it's official. It's an official race. I love the 2/3 rule. I didn't like halfway plus 1 lap back in the day. I love the 2/3 rule. You get the 2 stages out, weather happens, race is official. That's fantastic. So good on Clint Boyer. I love watching Clint Boyer post-race, whether he's doing burnouts, whether he's, throwing the thumbs up and high-fiving the fans or whatnot. There's a guy who genuinely enjoys winning a race. Not that they all don't, but he just exudes so much enthusiasm when he gets to victory lane that it's infectious. You cannot help but like Clint Boyer. And he's one of those guys that I've never heard anybody say, oh, Clint Boyer, I hate him. Nobody hates Clint Boyer.
No, not at all. I mean, you just think about him. I mean, not only he's entertaining on the radio most of the time. I mean, he's mostly entertaining either pre-race or post-race whatsoever. And, but I just look at Clint Boyer this year, like, you go back from last season to this season. I mean, first time at Stewart-Haas, let's face it, like his first year, he was trying to figure out the whole new team, and, that chemistry between him and Mike Bugger-Ravage didn't really seem to work out at first. And then you go to this season, they have it all figured out. They have 2 wins this season, and I want to say now, once the playoffs start, I really think Boyer and Kevin Harvick, I think those are going to be the only two guys at Stewart-Haas Racing I think are going to be the one to beat for the championship. I mean, you look at Harvick, I mean, he pretty much has the edge over Boyer, but I really think Boyer, has a little bit of a slim margin, of running competitive this year. And also, not to mention, so it is actually the first time that Stewart-Haas Racing has ever finished 1, 2, and 3 because you have Kurt Busch in third. And the last time that happened was back in 2008 when Roush Fenway Racing finished 1, 2, 3 at Dover, and Greg Biffle won the race, Kenseth second, and Carl Edwards third. And then 2008 one time, Richard Childress Racing won at Bristol with Jeff Burton winning the race, Harvick second, and Clint Boyer in third. So, but I just look at Stewart-Haas Racing this year, and not only that, you look at the Fords. They finished, they had 7 Fords in the top 10. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, this is basically going to be the year where the Fords and the Toyotas are just going to dominate. And, you look at the Toyotas, I mean, yeah, the only Toyotas that I think are going to be competitive are mostly going to be Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr., but, you just look at it, it's just all Ford's endgame right now.
One of the things you brought up, and I'm glad you did because I wanted to say something about it, is the dynamic between Boyer and Harvick. They worked together at RCR for years. They've been friends. They're still friends. I mean, a lot of these guys, the pre-race between Harvick and Busch was fantastic, which, by the way, if Harvick and Busch come to Stafford, I'm front row. I want to see that happen right up here in Stafford Springs, Connecticut. Boy, howdy, would I love to see them getting modifieds and just tear it up. Much like I used to watch Tony Stewart do the same, Ken Schrader do the same. But the dynamic between Boyer and Harvick, it's more than teammates. It's a friendship, much like when Harvick made the jump to Stewart-Haas. Him and Smoke were friends for years. And now when you work together, not only work together, but you're working for one of your friends, you don't want to let him down. You want to bust your hump, and you want to bring him exactly what he hired you to do. Now, to watch those two work together, you brought up that point, and I think it's great that now that we have basically a 4-party system, Harvick, Busch, Truex, Boyer, multiple winners. Boyer is now in that conversation that we talked about a week ago where we thought it was going to be a 3-headed monster. It's going to be a 4-headed monster, and I have a feeling that this is not the last win for Clint Boyer this year. There's, you got another Martinsville race, you got another Michigan race, you got a lot of tracks where Clint Boyer has been historically competitive. Of course, you also have Daytona, where he's, I think, the only guy to finish the race with his car upside down, crossing the finish line, which was the year Kevin Harvick won, RCR Jones. But those two working together, you're right. That's going to be scary for a lot of other teams. And like these Fords, fantastic. Everybody cried the blues when Stewart-Haas Racing went from Chevy to Ford. Oh, they're blues. Everything's going to suck. I'm looking at 7 wins for Stewart-Haas Racing right now. Yeah, things are good, especially if you're a fan of Stewart-Haas Racing, any of the 4 drivers.
Yeah, also one other thing I really want to take away of as well, I believe the Cup guys had a new aero package this weekend, so it was kind of, I want to say, a little bit similar to what the All-Star package was, but then yet again, I thought the racing on Sunday was good. I mean, wasn't really a bad race, but then yet again, it wasn't a worse race, to watch, but, I thought the racing on Sunday was exciting. I thought the racing on Saturday was exciting. But, the only thing I really want to question on is, why is NASCAR experimenting on, what package they should use and what package, they should run on? I mean, let's face it, they had the All-Star package, which I thought it was, exciting. But then yet again, you had the 2 cars that were out in front and everybody else was, running for third place most of the time and so forth. And, I mean, I have to say, the All-Star race, I thought it was good, but in my opinion, it should have been better. And then you go to the press conference that Brad Keselowski did on Friday, and I think he kind of said some really good, valid points saying, these cars are meant to run hard, and, I don't know why NASCAR is pretty much, experimenting on, what packages and everything else and so forth. So there were some guys that kind of agreed on his comment, and there were a few guys that kind of disagreed and so forth. But I'll tell you this, 2 guys that agreed to his comments were Bobby Labonte and Mark Martin. And not only you're talking about Mark Martin, but you're talking about, Hall of Famer Mark Martin that has been around the sport for like decades, and he knows what a car can do, and he knows how to drive a car and so forth. But the only thing I really want to question is, I really want to see what NASCAR does this year with the rules package, depending on what track we go to, because I feel like, now they're just we're going to see a race where, it could be, not so much side-by-side racing, it could be for a couple laps. And then that's when NASCAR said, okay, now we need to fix something. Then you go to the next race, same thing. Then NASCAR says, okay, we need to do something like this. So the only problem about that is the fans pretty much say, oh, we want more. And then NASCAR says, well, we want less. Or actually the drivers say they want less and so forth. But I don't know. I really want, if I would have to pick out a rules package, I really want to pick something out, that can run great, that can make a lot of passing. And yet again, that can make a lot of good racing. Because let's be honest, I mean, the racing on the 1.5 miles hasn't been really the best the last couple of years. But, NASCAR is trying to do the best they can, to make the racing exciting and to make it great for the fans.
Sunday's race was incredible. There were people I hadn't seen take in a long damn time. Ryan Blaney being one of them. And I'll go to my happies and sads real quick. I got 2 happies. First and foremost, Jamie McMurray, tip of the hat. You get one of my happies this week. There's a guy who battled. Didn't have a great car. Was on the radio talking about certain things. Every time he went in was a new problem. And this guy battled. And he got himself. So good on Jamie McMurray. My second, not so much for his finish, but the fact that he was up front and leading for at least 11 laps, was Kasey Kahne. There's a name we don't talk about too much unless we're talking about the bottom half of the field in the last few weeks. Kasey Kahne getting out front, leading some laps, and then having some late trouble with the car. It was good to see Kasey Kahne out in front again. I used to love watching that red number 9 lead a whole bunch of laps, and then he went through the whole rigmarole, moving this team, doing the 1-year bit with Red Bull Racing. Then he gets his home and etc. Now he's got another underfunded home, but he was competitive. It is great. It's always good to see a veteran driver, unfortunately falling on underfunded times, get up front and lead, whether it's 1 lap or 150 laps. And for Kahne, it was 11. Good job by him. Those are my 2 happies. My sad, unfortunately, is Matt Kenseth. Oh, my God, can this guy stop having bad luck since his return to NASCAR?
Yeah, my happy would definitely have to go to Paul Menard because, finishing in the top 5, the Wood Brothers team, pretty consistent this year. And, I wouldn't say not really the best, but, again, a consistent team, a consistent driver. Happy that they pulled off a top 5 finish. And then my sad would definitely have to go to Martin Truex Jr. He was basically running outside the top 10 most of the day, and not even anywhere in the top 10. But I pretty much questioned okay, he's pretty much the second fastest Toyota, but where was he in the top 10?
Maybe we can throw out a participation trophy right here for Kyle Busch. Started in the back, much like Harvick did some time ago, and cut his way through the field and comes home with a 4th place finish. So participation trophy Jones goes to Kyle Busch.
All right.
Can't have too many participation trophies, Kyle. Now, let's break down the Cup Series picks. We start with Corey. Corey picked Kyle Larson as his lock. Unfortunately, that burp shouldn't have come out. Kyle Larson comes home in 28th. He takes Menard as his sleeper. Menard comes home in 5th. Good job. And your hopeful was Jimmy Johnson, who came home in 20th. You add that up, that is 53. You divide that by 3. Your finish this week, sir, was 17.3. Bad luck. You know what? You're going to come back next week, and the Beats headphones Jimmy Johnson picture behind you, go-kart racing Jones car is going to do better. And, just want to thank the crew and everybody involved and yada, 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 because now I'm going to gloat. The second first ever on the CJ Speedway review. I took Kevin Harvick as my lock. He finished second. I took Clint Boyer as my hopeful. As my sleeper, and he comes home in first. My hopeful was Kurt Busch, who came in third. You add that up, it's a total of 6. My finish this weekend was 7th, the first ever 1-2-3 finish in CJ Speedway review history. I got a million reasons to win, my friend, and that was just one of them. So, you know what? I knew going into Michigan it was going to be a Stewart-Haas day. I just had this feeling, and I told you that last week, that I don't know what it is. The Fords, the 1.5 miles, 2 miles, the high speeds, Michigan, they were topping out at 2:15 at one point. I knew it was going to be a Stewart-Haas day. I did not expect in my wildest dreams that it would be a 1-2-3. So I'm just going to golf clap myself real quick. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to give a shout out. My friend Mike Martin and his wife Terry, big race fans. Mike was a Tony Stewart fan for years and years and years. So this week my shout out goes to Mike and Terry. Terry was a Jeff Gordon fan. I don't know that she has a favorite driver now. Mike is kind of still on the fence with the whole Stewart-Haas Ford gimmick. He doesn't like Clint Boyer being in that car. He doesn't hate him, but he doesn't like him being in that 14. But that's it. Stewart-Haas got to stick together. We got to represent. So hello to Mike and Terry. If you're watching, you should be. If you're not, I will burn your house down while you sleep. So anyway, we go to Iowa this weekend. The Cup guys are off for Father's Day, but hey, the trucks in the Xfinity Series, bring your kids because it's Father's Day and they want to see Daddy win. Tell us about the truck race.
All right, so the truck race, and it's funny because I thought it was on Friday night, but it's actually going to be on Saturday. So if anybody does not know, I will not be watching the race on Saturday because I'm going to a concert Saturday night.
Who are you going to see?
I'm going to see Zach Brown Band at Fenway.
All right, you win. If you said something like Nickelback, I'd reach you his computer and fire you myself.
Oh, Jesus. But don't worry, guys. I have the race DVR'd, so I always DVR my stuff whenever I'm out and about. So anyways, so Saturday night, we got the Truck Series race on Saturday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time on FS1, the M&M's 200 presented by Casey's General Store. And don't forget, if you guys have Sirius XM radio, it is on Channel 90, which is known as MRN.
The voice of NASCAR.
You got it.
I can't get enough of that every single time.
Home of the Godfather and Dave Moody.
Yes, sir.
I'm hoping you can change your mind on that Days of Thunder opinion from last week. Still waiting on that. That's all
You are not going to let Dave Moody live this down. You know what you should do? You should go to the Twitter machine because you run our Twitter, and you should send him a message. Dave Moody, you want to argue the point about Days of Thunder? Why don't you come on the C&J Speedway review? We'll do Skype Jones, triple screen. We'll go to town, and we will talk about the pros, the cons, the goods, and the bads. And if we have to throw a little Talladega Nights in there, Stroker Race, any number of racing movies, we will. But we will convince Dave Moody by the time that episode is over that Days of Thunder truly is the greatest racing movie of all time.
Oh, it is, without a doubt. I mean, it's a quotable movie and, one of my all-time favorites. But anyway, so we're looking at the entry list. So we have Cody Coughlin in the 2 truck. We have Jordan Anderson in the 3. You have Todd Gilliland. You have John Hunter Nemechek in the 8 car, which is last year's winner. Jennifer Jo Cobb, Wyatt Snyder, Brett Moffitt, Noah Gregson, Johnny Sauter, Austin Wayne Self, Justin Haley, Dalton Sargent, Ben Rhodes, Justin Fontaine. Let's see, Harrison Burton is going to be in the 51 truck this weekend. Stuart Friesen in the 52, Bola Mastis in the 54, Joe Nemechek in the 87, Matt Crafton, Jesse Little in the 97, and Grant Enfinger in the 98. So I'm going to go with my lock and my sleeper really quick. So my lock, easy on this one. It definitely has to be Johnny Sauter because I can just face it. I mean, let's say it, because he's on a really good momentum right now. I mean, he's already won 4 races, and I really think that In my theory, I think this is going to be a Johnny Sauter type of race because, you look at it, he started up front, he leads the laps, he wins the race. And, I probably couldn't think of any other truck, that's going to be tough to beat besides that 21. But, other than that, I think Iowa's going to be exciting on Saturday. And then my sleeper, I'm going to go a homer on this one. So I'm going to go with the 4 of Todd Gilliland. And in my theory, in my opinion, I think this kid's ready. I think he's ready to win a race. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he won a K&N race at Iowa a couple of years ago when they did that whole East-West combination race.
The showdown,
whatsoever. Yeah, the showdown and so forth. But even though it's his, what is it? I think probably whatever races he's run this year. I really think that this is going to be a kid that I think is going to be fun to watch. Could possibly steal a win, if not maybe point his way in, depending on where he is in points so far. But I really want to see what this kid can do. I mean, he's in the Truck Series. He's running for a title. Well, shouldn't say running for a title, but, he's running the remainder of the season driving for Kyle Busch. And I really think this kid's going to be fun to watch.
Okay, well, we may as well just toss the average finish out the window next week because I took the same 2 drivers in the same 2 positions that Corey did for probably all of the same reasons. I took Sauter and Gilliland, lock and sleeper. So next week is a wash. When we talk about the average finish, Corey and I finish in a deadlock tie once again, twice in 2 weeks. But we can't help it because we do our picks. We don't talk about them until we see you guys smiling back at us every single week. So, wow, nothing really to talk about there. Let's move on to the Xfinity Series, sir.
All right, so Sunday, Father's Day, 5 o'clock Eastern Time. It is the Iowa 250. Race will be on FS1, and not to mention Sirius XM Channel 90 MRN.
The voice of NASCAR.
There you go.
God, I love that. They should
All
just
right.
hire me. That's my whole job. Here's $100,000. Just say that every single. The voice of NASCAR.
That would be a really good job for you,
It'd make the Speedway review a whole lot more interesting. I could tell you that.
It would absolutely. So I'm going to read the entry list of the guys that usually run the Cup cars before I get to the Xfinity entry list. So Shane Lee is going to be in the 3 car this weekend. Let's see. Riley Herbst is going to be making his Xfinity debut on Sunday, driving the 18 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. Austin Cindric is going to be in the 22 car for Team Penske. And John Hunter Nemechek is going to be in the 42 car. So he is also going to be doing double duty this weekend. So Xfinity entry list notables. So you have Elliott Sadler, you have Matt Tifft, you have Ross Chastain, Michael Annett, Justin Allgaier, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Truex, Timmy Hill, Ryan Reed, Riley Herbst, which we mentioned, Brandon Jones, Christopher Bell, Daniel Hemrick, Austin Cindric, as we mentioned. Justin Haley is going to be making his Xfinity debut for GMS Racing. So he, too, is also going to be doing double duty as well. Alex LeBay, Jeff Green, Ryan Sieg, Jeremy Clements, David Starr, Ty Majeski will be back in the 60 car this weekend. Kaz Grall in the 61. Spencer Boyd, Tommy Joe Martins, and J.J. Yaley. So, Block, this one was a little bit of a tough one. And I kind of, was kind of like fiddling around just a little bit. But if I'd had to pick a lock right now, I'd have to go with the one of Elliott Sadler. He needs to win a race this year. He's gone winless ever since, Kentucky back in 2016. And, since then, has made it to the championship 4, but yet has not won a race this season. So I'm really hoping that one car can make it into victory lane and lock himself into the playoffs in 2018. So my sleeper on this one is also going to be a little bit interesting as well. So I'm going to be taking a look at the 18 of Riley Herbst. Now, even though he drives in the ARCA series, which now ARCA acquired by NASCAR, blah, and also Riley, I think, has run maybe a couple K&N races, if I'm not mistaken, but he is now going to be running in the 18 car for Joe Gibbs, and I really want to see what this kid can do. Like I said, it's his debut on Sunday, so if he can pull off a top 10 finish, I'll be pretty happy, and not to mention, you'll have the team owners looking at him saying, like, I want it for my team. Who knows? He could possibly go to the trucks, maybe Xfinity. You just never know.
You just got to catch somebody's eye. But
yeah,
before the program started, because there's no Cup Series race this week, we expanded the Xfinity picks to include a lock, a sleeper, and a hopeful. So give me your hopeful for the Xfinity race this weekend.
All right. So my hopeful this weekend, I'm going to go with the 21 of Hemrick.
Hemrick, okay.
Yep.
All right, I'm writing that down, and then I'm going to get into mine. My lock this weekend is a guy that has a win, could use another win. It could propel him even further in the standings and kind of cement him as the championship favorite going forward. He was last year's Truck Series champion and hopefully will be this year's Xfinity champion. I'm going with Christopher Bell. As my sleeper pick, it's hard to pick him as a sleeper, but I really do because he hasn't had a win this season. My sleeper is going to be Elliott Sadler. He needs that win. Like you said, he's going to either get it or he's not going to get it. My hopeful is somebody we talked about at length when we spoke of the Xfinity race coming out of Michigan. Michael Annett needs that win to propel himself to get out of the bubble stage and get into the contender stage. So those are my lock, sleeper, hopeful for this week going into Iowa. By the way, happy Father's Day to all fathers out there. Someday Corey will have some children, and what happens when you have kids? Look at this. This didn't happen until Emma came around 10 years. This is new. This is something I take that comb gimmick with the color, and every now and again I have to do that. But you know what? I'm in a good mood. I might bring back the Chin Biscuit. If anybody follows the Loki and Jabroni show, you know the Chin Biscuit. I shaved that off for charity a few years ago. It's epic. Having said that, Corey, do you have anything you want to pimp, peddle, or otherwise push to the people?
Okay, so continue to follow us on the it's yeah, there was a lot of them on there, and you can't make that up. Anyways, continue to follow us on the C&J Speedway Review. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, watch our videos, see how we are. And, you never know where it's going to go from there. And then
talk to us. Tell us what we can do to get better.
Yeah. Voice your opinions. I mean, even though there's not a lot of NASCAR fans, but if you guys have any people that are NASCAR fans, please spread the word out. Have them share their opinions, what's going on in the racing world. We want opinions. We love it, And so anyways, we are also on Instagram. We are at CJ Speedway. And then Twitter, we are at CJ_Speedway as well. So, yeah, guys, I mean, this is pretty much, almost a year that, we've been doing this show ever since. And, honestly, it's been a lot of fun times and so forth. And also, I want to give a shout out to one of my friends. Her name is Chelsea. Okay, so if I kind of mess up this last name, I do apologize. I can't really pronounce this. It's Chelsea Snakis. It's a Greek last name, so forth, and yeah. So I kind of tried to pronounce that name, but I've the best I could. But yeah, so she told me that she actually has been to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, I think one time back in 2012 and 13. So I thought, all right, that's I forget who won those years, but I gotta look that up pretty time soon. But yeah, so I actually gave her the link to the YouTube show, and so she pretty much subscribed. So Chelsea, if you're planning on watching this tonight, or if you are watching, I want to say welcome. And
yes.
I also, if you have any opinions you want to voice out, feel free, because we love opinions and we love a lot of stuff about racing and everything and so forth. And also one more thing, I want to give another shout out to my friend Eric Peabody, who became a deacon, I think, just last year. And I was talking to him this past Sunday, and Chris, this is very interesting. So Deacon Eric Peabody is really good friends with John Andretti, and I told him this past Sunday, that me and you were going to be saying a prayer for John, and I guess he told me that he said that his health is not doing too good, and
Oh,
even though that his cancer, returned and it's been spreading and so forth, but guys, keep continuing to pray for John Andretti. I have to say, one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet. Even though he was part of the Andretti family, 2 NASCAR wins of his career, but honestly, like, it's really sad, to see what he's going through right now.
yeah, without question. And I continue to pray for John and his family. And it's just, cancer sucks. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
So, Godspeed to him, his family. Let's hope he pulls through this thing. It's not likely, let's be honest, but, you got to pull for the good guys. And John Andretti is one of the good guys. So, this week, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, sometime before we record next Wednesday, we talked about it last week. It's going to come to fruition. I'm going to throw out the question of the week. We're going to take all the comments. I'm going to shake them up, spin them around, and we're going to use 2 or 3 of the best comments on the question of the week, which Corey and I will certainly talk about. We'll have a week to think about it. But we want you guys to be more involved. And if you want to hear your opinions live, and if you want to hear, or live on YouTube, however you want to discuss it, if you want to have your opinion mean something here on the CJ Speedway Review, this is going to be the way to do it. The question of the week starts this week. We start talking about it next week. Now, I am so excited right now. You have no idea, guys, how excited I am. I love doing this every Wednesday. Love doing the Logan Jabroni Show every Tuesday. I'd love to do more podcasts, but my woman would probably shoot me between the eyes and kick me out of the house before I had a chance to say, but baby, wait. This Friday, an album is coming out. You can download it on iTunes, or you can go and buy a physical copy. It is called My Midnight Things. It is by an artist named Lizzie Borden, and his band also named Lizzie Borden. Not his real name. Don't get me in. Just run with it, guys. Lizzie Borden. Now, I sent Corey a link to the new video, Long May They Haunt Us, which has a very 60s, 70s leader of the pack feel, in my opinion. Corey, did you like the song?
I believe I did, yes.
Well, guys, the Loki Jabroni Show starts on 6:30 every Tuesday night, but it's 7:30 Eastern Time this Tuesday. Right over there at the rig, calling in on this phone that I'm recording on right now. His album drops on Friday, and we got him on Tuesday. The Master of Disguise, 35 years strong, one of my favorite and underrated singers, and the band is awesome too. But we got Lizzie Borden coming in to the Loki and Jabroni Show to talk to us about My Midnight Things. He's going to talk about the trials and tribulations of 35 years in the business, the 2 hiatuses he took, the revolving door of guitarists. He finds great guitarists, and then they move on to other bands. He had a guitarist named Joe Holmes in the late 80s, early 90s, who moved on to become Ozzy Osbourne's guitarist. He had a guy named Dario, who was a fantastic axe slinger, who moved on to one of my favorite bands, Black Label Society. Lizzie Borden knows music, and he puts out fantastic, fantastic material. This was bucket list for me. I have been waiting for this for a long time. If you know anybody that likes metal music, if you know anybody that likes a great singer, if you know anybody that just has ever heard of Lizzie Borden, because he's not Metallica, he's not Kiss, he's not even Nickelback, unfortunately, but you know what he is? He's awesome, and we got him. And that was a lot of hard work. This was months in the making, and we got him. Lizzie Borden, this Tuesday, Loki and Jabroni Show. Oh my God, I can't even begin to tell you how awesome this is for me. I discovered him. I was telling Corey on a text message recently, welcome to 15-year-old Chris, because I was 15 years old. I won't tell you the year. You guys could probably find it on Wikipedia. And I was watching Headbangers Ball one Saturday night on MTV. You know, when MTV played music.
Yeah.
And they let off with a video called Me Against the World. Never heard of Lizzie Borden, never saw Lizzie Borden, sight unseen. The the image was outrageous. But again, it's the 80s. Everybody looked outrageous in the 80s. But the song was so good that the next day, when my mom takes me and my brother and she goes grocery shopping and we scoot down the plaza to the record store, and I would spend my paper route money, lawnmower money, whatever money I could get, I was buying music. Kind of like now, I buy T-shirts and gimmicks for racing and all this other hubbub you see around me. But back then, it was all about music. I ran to the record store. I said, "Do you have Lizzie Borden?" And the guy's like, yeah. There's like one copy way over there. Cassette. Yeah, that's, again, cassettes, guys. That's how old I am. I listened to that thing front to back, side one, side two, weeks on end. I fell in love with this band. They've put out some great stuff over the years, and I am so excited. I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry, guys. This would be like getting John Andretti to come talk to us. This would be like getting Dave Moody to come talk to us right here. This is Lizzie Borden. And again, I had Corey listen to it. Very underrated. He's a great singer. What did you think of his voice?
I thought his voice was pretty decent. But then yet again, like, I thought he was good.
Oh, okay, he thought it was good. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, he's no Brian Hyland.
No.
Because you know what Brian Hyland sings.
Brian Hyland. Give me one song.
He was afraid to come out of the water.
Oh, no.
Sorry,
I walked into that one.
You sure did. I opened the door and you trotted right through. Thank you so much. But, guys, please check that out. Also, go to the Loki and Jabroni Show page next week because we're going to put that fundraiser back up. Chad Hatfield and Team World Vision raising money to bring clean water to countries that don't have access to clean water. And all the money he raises is great. But as part of Team World Vision, Chad Hatfield is running the New York City Marathon this November. So open your heart, open your wallet, donate to Chad. Team World Vision needs your help. And believe me, these people in Haiti or Puerto Rico right now, they're part of the United States, technically. Give them your help and give them your support because we're all humans. We all live on this spinning rock. It's not flat, Nathan, wherever you are. Not that he watches the NASCAR gimmick. I know he trolls the Loki and Jabroni Show, but the Earth's not flat, kids. It's round. Deal with it.
Yeah.
All right. So, Corey, how will you be spending Father's Day?
So I'm going to be spending my Father's Day with my dad, and we'll just be watching the Xfinity race on Sunday. And even though it's a 5:00 start, I really think it's a good deal. And but then yet again, just hang around with the family, mostly. And also I just want to give my shout out to my dad, and I want to wish him a happy Father's Day on Sunday. And I just gotta tell you, I give that man a lot of credit, and I just love him so much.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. You know what? I'm gonna utilize these last few seconds to say this. I probably haven't spoken to my father in about a year and a half, 2 years. We have differences of opinion. He thinks he's always right, and I don't necessarily agree. But he was a good dad. Well, he was a good father. Let's put it that way. Roof over my head, food in my stomach, clothes on my back. And if you ever get a chance to see this, there can be peace in the valley. You have to open your mind because we all know on this great big world of ours, nobody's right 1,000% of the time. And sometimes you have to crumble and admit, you know what? I screwed up here. I almost did it. Corey, I almost said the F word on this podcast. I can't do it.
Right.
I screwed up here. I could have done better here, but I'm open and I love him. Bruce Pritchard from Something to Wrestle podcast, former guest on the Loki and Jabroni Show, says it best. Just because I love you doesn't mean I like you. And I don't want it to be that way. So, you know what, Dad, if you ever get a chance to see this, happy Father's Day. I do love you. And, I wish you knew how much this bothers me that we just have this strained relationship. So, you know what? Swig a beer to you, Captain. Having said that, you guys have a fantastic Father's Day. Corey and I will be back next Wednesday to talk about Iowa. And more racing to come the weekend following. Corey, you have a fantastic Father's Day, and you tell your father I said Happy Father's Day to him.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're out. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Good night.